following is a test of the emergency broadcast A note. Had this been an actual emergency, I would have picked up an instrument that I already know how to play. No. No. How does this work again? Well, hello everybody and welcome to String Theory. And on today's show, we'll be discussing the difference between a violin and a viola. Two very, very similar instruments, but they have little subtle differences that we're going to go over. First, let's look at a violin. This is a tower strings violin. It is an electric acoustic, which is the type of instrument that I like. You see the equalizer here, you see the output jack here, and you see, now never mind the mute that's on the top, that's just to deaden the sound so I don't wake up the neighbors. You see a black gasket at the bottom of the bridge, and if you look on the inside of the violin, which is something that we're going to do a little bit later, because I got a pinhole camera I'm going to stick in, you'll see a wire that goes straight up to the bottom of that bridge, and that is what picks up the vibrations from the strings to the bridge throughout the rest of the violin, and sends out to, of course, your output jack if you got it hooked up to an amplifier. And it does work. It does definitely pick up all the sounds that you make in the violin. The problem is that it works. It picks up all of the sounds that you make of the violin. So you're putting the violin up to your chin, you're putting your hand up to the chin rest, you're fiddling around with the strings a little bit, you're picking up your bow, and you kind of lightly touch the strings a little bit. It picks up all of that and sends it to the amplifier. So it works really, really well. So you really want to know what you're doing. Now, a violin is tuned to the strings G, D, A, and E, which would sound great if I knew how to play this thing better. Viola, first of all, is tuned to a lower string because its low string is this C here, then G, then D, and then A. Now you do have 5-string instruments, 5-string violin and 5-string viola. Basically what happens is, on a 5-string, you have your C, your G, your D, your A, and your E. The violin, of course, has that low E string. The 5-string viola has that high E string. So basically you have the same instrument. Despite what the guys at Two Set are going to tell you, that the violin is not a viola. But if you did that, you'd have sort of a hybrid instrument of sorts that got a violin. You can scoot over and play the viola parts if it's needed, or you have a 5-string viola, you can scoot over to the violin section and play those high notes that you can on a violin. Much the same way as a 5-string cello has a high E string, which is basically the same as the high E string on a guitar. Now, this one, I gotta tell you, is a very, very nice instrument. It's a student quality instrument, to be certain. It's about $400. You want to go for a professional instrument, you're looking at somewhere in the neighborhood of $20,000 to $30,000. But a good student grade violin, you're looking at somewhere in the neighborhood of $500. It's the price that you want to go for. So this one is about $400, and I got a deal on it, so it was about $350. That's a great price for this violin. It's a fantastic violin. So if $500 is the basic price that you want to go for a good student quality violin or viola, what's your bottom line? What's the lowest price that you want to go with? And taken from people that are actually professionals in this kind of stuff, it's a general consensus that $100 is your bottom line. That's the lowest that you want to go, and even then, You're getting an instrument that you have to put a lot of work into. And that's what you're going to see today is your $100 instrument. You're going to see it good and bad and ugly. This is what it is. Hang on. It comes with new strings, a new bridge, which we'll find out why in a bit, a new bow, and rosin. All of which altogether is another $100 some odd. So this cheap bottom of the barrel instrument plus of all these things that you have to buy just to make it playable, now you're looking at something like a $250 violin or a $250 viola. Just insulted the entire violin community. So let's take a look at what a $100 viola actually looks like. Okay, now let's get ready for it. Ready. And there it is. This is a $100 viola. Now you notice, first of all, there's no bridge. The bridge is over here, but I'm not going to be using it because this bridge is nothing. It's cheap. It's cheap wood, and it's not worth using, which is why I bought the other one. From frankly the same place where I bought my $350 violin. It's a great place, it's a fiddler shop. They have great customer service, which means they get return customers. It came with these strings like really floppy all over the place. That's because you want to slack the strings as much as possible when you're shipping it. This whole paper thing is nothing that comes right off and discarded. Despite all that, it is a good instrument. And I don't want you to get the wrong impression. It's a very, very beautiful, sparkling purple. The tailpiece is nice. The chin rest is nice. Everything about it, what it looks like, is very nice. But the first thing I'm going to do with this thing, I'm going to change out the strings. I do not want to keep the same strings on it. Put the old crappy strings off, put the new ones on. Now you don't want to leave the strings off for too long because you have a sound post inside of there that takes the pressure from the strings that are under tension. The bridge, right on top of there, there's an immense amount of pressure that gets placed on top of this instrument. And the sound post not only amplifies the sounds of the strings, but also serves to help with the structural integrity so that with the immense amount of pressure that's on the strings, it doesn't collapse on you. Now, these strings are color-coded, and according to my little chart, one with a purple end on it is your C string, which on a viola is your low string. You stick it into the bridge there, little ball end. Right inside that little slot right there. Gotta be real careful in it, make sure it's in. Bring the string up into your tuning peg. There's going to be a very, very small hole, and you just stick it right in. Also want to make sure when you're putting the string in, you want to keep the string as close to the side of the peg box as possible because you got to fit all these strings in a very, very small area. You don't want them to they overlap or interfere with each other. That was about the time you want to worry about the bridge. You want to be able to fit that bridge right underneath that string as you're starting to tighten it up. You notice that it's not really symmetrical. There's a high end and there's a low end. The high end goes under your thick string, and your low end goes under your thin string. That's why when you're got it up there and you're playing it, you get the angle of the bow just right. You get the bridge turned around, you got to get your bow way up here in order to get the string right, and it just doesn't work. You want to make sure that it's straight, perpendicular, and also straight up and down. And you have these F holes in the sides of your viola. You have these little notches on the sides, and your bridge has to be right on those notches, centered, straight, and straight up and down. At this point, tuning this viola is going to be the same process as tuning that old guitar. Note for note, let's get it done. C note. Now, the thing is about violins and violas that these tuning pegs are just loose. They're just little pieces that can pop out. And sometimes that they have a habit of just popping out on you, and the string just goes slack on you. So want to make sure that when you're turning these tuning pegs, you're turning, but you're also pushing in at the same time, so it really connects in there and doesn't move. Oh, that's about as good as a tuning job is going to get for right now. It's being brand new strings that still need to be used to being stretched out. Other than that, I'm going to commit a certain bit of sacrilege because I know that my viola bow isn't rosined up yet. I'm going to use my violin bow on the viola. I hope Set is going to forgive me. I'm so used to hitting that high E string. Okay, bus going by. Well, bottom line, not too bad for a $100 viola. Of course, that's not saying enough. Beautiful, beautiful instrument. End of the day, I am glad I spent the money for it. I'm gonna have to come back in a couple hours, next day, the next day after that, just retune it. That is the price you pay for putting brand new strings on the instrument. Is you have to just go back and retune it. Bridge is up there. And that's a good bridge too. Teller in Germany, the name of that bridge. It's a good product. The viola itself is a Celio, which most people in the string community knows is the guys that make the less expensive instruments, but this one isn't that bad. I like it. Now to rosin up the bow. Thank you for watching. Okay, now I'll be a bit of a fool if I didn't explain how to rosin up a bow. Basically, want to concentrate more on the bottom and on the top, and long passes along the length. And don't be too upset if it doesn't take right away. A brand new bow, according to the experts, takes somewhere in the neighborhood of 15 to 20 minutes to rosin up properly, because it comes with absolutely no rosin on the bow at all, so you have to do that yourself as soon as you get it. This one I know doesn't have any rosin on it because it's brand new. This is the one that I bought from the music store. It did come with the bow in it. It's still in the case. I gotta get this thing all rosin up and looking pretty. This is gonna take a while, which is why I'm not going to be doing the bulk of this on camera, because you'll just be sitting here all day. But there is a certain technique for holding the bow. I'll show you that, because that's not something that comes naturally for somebody who's a guitarist. Because, well, obviously we don't work with bows. Basically, got this part right here at the end, holding the hairs down. It's called a frog. You want to put your thumb right there at the end of that. Wrap your middle finger on the other side of it. So basically, you're holding it with your thumb and your middle finger. And the other fingers, so that your index finger is kind of putting forward right at the edge where that silver part starts. Your ring finger is right there helping you hold it. And your pinky, you keep your pinky straight and resting it right on the top of the back end of that bow. And that is how you hold it. And that's the one thing that I do, because I have this broken bow that's over here I like using to whip with. Make some noise. If I want to, I can just go ahead and reinstall this frog. You can see what it looks like. There's a slot here at the end of the bow, and it just sticks right in. And screw it in right in the back. Basically what moves that frog back and forth and puts your hairs under tension if you have a bow that actually has hairs. This one's broken, but I can still hold it, and I can still use it for holding practice. It's like 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning, actually playing the violin or the viola. It's going to wake up the neighbors, but I can still practice holding the bow. I can work up those muscles that you don't use when you're playing a guitar, but you definitely use when you're holding the bow. You definitely want to get good control of the bow. Now I'm curious, having made a couple passes on this rosin. And you watch me, I did this real time. I'm just curious if it's going to make a noise. Doubtful that it is, or if it doesn't, it's not going to be even across the bow, which is what you want, but let's see. Ooh, I'm going to make a little bit of noise at the end there, but yeah, that's what it sounds like when it's not properly rosined. It barely makes any noise at all. At least it's even. Put your little cloth there, the rosin is on there. You put it back in the case so it doesn't have rosin on the strings. It's going to mess up your strings. That's a beautiful instrument for the price, though. So I'm going to let you go. I'm going to keep rosining this sucker up. And then I'm actually going to start practicing. And as Two Set says, practice 40 hours a day. See you later. Yeah, that's right.